For the latest video, I'm in my home gym. It's just a building we have at the end of our garden, which used to be used to store meat. So this exciting looking contraption up here, behind the bar, isn't in fact a chin-up bar, but it's where they used to hang dead animals before they served them in the butchers, which our house used to be. Anyway, so I'm in here. This is my home gym. I have an exercise bike. I have my barbell behind. We've got some various bits of elastic, etc. So we are very lucky in this coronavirus period to be able to still do some weight training. More on that in a minute, but for now I thought I'd start off with some sports psychology, or just psychology in general really, because during this time we are all going to struggle with being isolated, not being able to do the things we normally do, and if we get very frustrated with it, it's not going to help. We unfortunately have to accept the new position that we're in. We accept the reality and try and deal with it as best we can. This can mean building plans around what you can do, what facilities are available to you, whether it's just exercising in a living room or a bedroom, or whether it's going out for a run, or whether you're very lucky like us and you've got some equipment you can work with. It does mean we've got a lot more time to think. So what I would suggest is that you spend some time thinking about your motivation within the sport. Why you do it, what you get out of it. It's quite likely that your motivations now are different to what they used to be when you were younger. I'm sure most of us just joined in because we saw people on the TV and thought that looks like fun, and then you built up friendship groups and you wanted to go and see them each week, etc. Now you might be aiming at PBs, medals you want to win, all that sort of stuff, but essentially have a good think about why you do the sport, and how you can bring back some of that fun when we're eventually able to go back and train as we were before. The other thing that's worth thinking about is that we can use our brains. No matter how restricted we are with our movements, we can use our brains. So do spend some time looking at sports psychology. Do have a bit of a think about how you might be able to perform better on the day if you haven't always achieved quite what you wanted to, or what your training suggests you might be able to do. There's lots of sports psychology books out there. There's lots of videos you can find online, and you can do lots of mental practice, things like mental imagery, where you think through a race day and plan out exactly how you can get the best out of it that you possibly can. I'd like to thank Bob Lewis, who has helped me with some of these ideas. He has a master's in sports psychology and is also one of the athletes who trains with us. So thanks very much, Bob, for a bit of help with that. Now, the other thing I want to look at is starting to think about the exercises we can do at home. So one of the other reasons I'm in here is that I've just been outside doing some videoing of some hurdling. A few drills that you can do in a very constricted space with or without hurdles. That video will come out shortly. The other thing that I want to think about for the moment though is what we can do with our weights. So we can have a bit of a think about how we can adjust our weight training if we don't have things like this, but maybe have a medicine ball or a kettlebell, or even just a heavy bag. So, three things for you to think about today in terms of standard exercises we do when we are training normally, and replacements we can get for them. So, first one would be that we look at what we can do to replace squats. Essentially, it's fairly simple. Instead of doing squats on two legs, where you can lift a very heavy weight, just do it on one. Whether this is a full pistol squat down to the ground, or whether you are just going to go down and maybe just brush a chair that's placed under your backside and then go back up again. If you can hold something while you do this, but you won't need too much weight because it'll be hard work doing this on a single leg anyway. The other thing you can look at for cleans is to replace it with another power exercise, which also involves what we call triple point flexion. Triple point flexion is where we extend at our knee, our hip and our ankle joint as we push off. Cleans are very good for doing this, and it's also something that's very relevant to any running action. To replace it for the moment, you can replace it with squat jumps. We would suggest just a very light weight that you can hold, but squat jumps are equally good without any weight at all. If you're an experienced lifter, maybe try and hold a few kilos. Again, that can be in the form of a rucksack on your back, holding it to your chest like this. You could hold a kettlebell, you could hold dumbbells in each hand down by your side, whatever you like. But you can do squat jumps and look to get as much power and as much lift as you take off as is humanly possible. And the final one we'll have a look at is a hamstring exercise. Now normally we do a two-legged, what's called a Romanian deadlift, or stiff leg deadlift. This is where we lean forwards with a straight back and hold a heavy weight in our arms. This can often be very heavy. I mean, even an old man like me, I'm still using about 100 to 110 kilos on this exercise. Now, if we do it on one leg, then clearly the weight doesn't need to be nearly as heavy. Because we've also got to lift our body weight up, you can reduce that to well under half the weight you were lifting before. I'm not going to suggest exactly what you should do, but personally I would probably be looking at about 30 kilos if I was doing that. Okay, that's it from me today. We'll have try and get the hurdle drills out the hurdle drills video out very soon, and I'll check in with you again in the near future. Okay, goodbye.